What's going on, Babylonians? It's me, Songs of Braze, and I'm back on the channel bringing some more of the finals content your way. Now, today's video, we're going to be discussing my favourite weapon, or probably one of the best close-range weapons that exists in the game, and that is going to be for the heavy class, and this is going to be the SA1216. Now, the reason why we're going to be having a look into this is because it has an insanely fast time to kill, especially if you can land your shots. The hipfire when it comes to this, in terms of like the bullet spread and everything like that, is insanely consistent as well, and that does mean that you can delete classes in as little as 2 shots if you're able to land your shots. Of course, we will be diving into every single little detail, every single little stat that you possibly need to know when it comes to this weapon, but of course, if you want to see more from ourselves when it comes to the finals, and you're interested in being able to do some more kind of like testing, or being able to see what the meta will be when the game does launch, then make sure to drop that like and subscribe, because we will be doing all the number crunching ready for when that game drops. With all that said and done, what are we waiting for? Let's get right into the video. So let's have a discussion about what the SA1216 is, what it is that's special about it, and how it basically fits into the current meta and why it's able to delete people so fast. Well, the SA1216 is a 4-round burst shotgun. This does have a magazine size of 16, which means that you do have 4 shots, then you have to do a rechamber, and then you get to do another 4 shots, rechamber, 4 shots, rechamber, 4 shots. Once you've managed to shoot all 16 shots, you do need to be able to pop a reload. This will take you roughly 2.2 seconds, so it's kind of minimum in terms of downtime, especially when you consider what the heavy is able to bring as an arsenal, with things like the flamethrower being like a 3.9 second reload, the M60 being closer to 4 seconds. It's kind of crazy, but the SA1216 is the fastest reloading gun if we're not including things like the sledgehammer and how fast you're able to swing that. So it's got really good handling stats in terms of like being able to be consistently on target if you're able to, if you know where that spread is and you're able to land it, and it's also really fast reload, meaning that you can actually pop this off inside of a team fight, ready to be able to then take on multiple opponents. So what else do we have to have a look at with the SA1216? Well, we probably should have a look at its damage profile to be able to explain its TTK, and one thing to be able to notice is that with all shotguns is that headshots do not exist, so being able to aim for like chest, being able to aim for center mass is going to do the exact same amount of damage as if you would be aiming for the head up close. So obviously it's just range that is a factor when it comes to this, and also being able to maximize the amount of pellets that you land, because the more pellets means the more damage that you will be dealing. Now, because we don't have exact damage numbers currently, this is something I would like to have a chat with the devs so that we can get some consistent damage numbers, or like a controlled environment so we know how we can like calculate damage and all that kind of thing. What we are able to do is have a look at the max potential it's able to do once it's in the firing range. So let's have a look at all these kind of like TTKs. So when it comes to the light class, you can delete a class in 2 shots. That is insanely fast. This actually clocks in at one of the fastest times to kill that exists in this whole game. There are a couple of guns that are a little bit faster, and that's only because they're instant kill shots, but if we were taking out the fact that we've got like the sawed-off shotgun and we've also taken out the sniper against light classes, this is actually the fastest time to kill in the whole game. It's insanely quick, it's insanely fast, and I highly recommend that you do use it for this reason, but that means it is especially good at being able to mop up light classes. So if we swap our target over to a medium body though, this does mean that instead with that extra 100 health, it will require 1 extra shot, which means that we're going up to a 406 millisecond time to kill, which once again is only beaten out by the sawed-off shotgun if you're able to land your shot, and that does require both shots, and then obviously you have that lengthy reload, so that is something that you do need to factor in when it comes to that. And then lastly, having a look at the heavy class, we do have a millisecond time of 610, which actually is the fastest in the whole game. Obviously, because we don't have instant shot kills, like we don't have like Assassin's Dagger that are able to take down heavy targets with one single backstab. We don't have snipers that are able to instantly delete a heavy. We don't have anything that's able to instantly get rid of them off the field. This actually does become the fastest time to kill. Now, technically, the sawed-off shotgun does have a better time to kill, but that doesn't factor in the reload time. So once you add that in, the sawed-off shotgun falls off massively compared to this. So clocking in at 610 milliseconds in a game like this, where the TTK roughly is over a second as a max, like in terms of like average, is kind of crazy. And it does mean that you are able to take on multiple heavies all the time. This does clock in at 4 shots to be able to kill though. Obviously, this does mean that you have that 4-round burst. You then have to be able to do that manual click over. So you just kind of have to factor that one in when it comes to that. So if you are able to land all 4 of your shots, you then do have a 0.85 second delay. delay, meaning that you then get your chance to be able to fire 4 additional shots. This means that you are especially equipped to be able to take on heavy opponents. This is the absolute perfect heavy taking down weapon. If they are using something like the M60, they cannot kill you fast enough if you're able to land your shots with the shotgun. Same with the flamethrower. While it is technically a little bit difficult to be able to see through the flames, you can actually use this gun to melt them even faster, and yes, technically pun intended, then the flamethrower can actually get you killed as well. Now, unfortunately, because this is a shotgun, that does mean it's not very versatile across a multitude of ranges. Obviously, once you start stretching out the ranges, this damage does fall off a little bit. But because of the 16 rounds in its magazine, because of the nature of it being full auto, you can actually spam this off to your heart's content. So don't be afraid to be able to start firing this off, just to be able to get some chip damage in. Every single little bit of damage helps, especially considering like the delay when it comes to healing in this game. So you can actually start weakening a few people, ready to be able to go into that fight. So once they're within that kind of area with you, you then get to be able to take advantage, and it makes it more consistent when it comes to those shots. Now, when it comes to have a look at the spread pattern of this gun, it is insanely consistent. If you have seen our previous Ultimate Shotgun guide, then this is exactly the same. It hasn't changed whatsoever. It is just basically a figure of 8. So obviously, you do need to be able to pay attention to the fact that your hipfire, your crosshair is showing you much wider than it actually should be. You just kind of aim a little bit closer to the center of it. So obviously, try to put your crosshair as close as possible onto a target. Also, aiming down sight does absolutely nothing for this gun. There is absolutely zero reason to ever aim down sight with this gun, unless you really enjoy the iron sights, or unless you really just enjoy that kind of playstyle. Feel free, but it gives you absolutely no benefit. It slows you down. It's just pointless. You might as well just continuously hip fire, and it doesn't help you in terms of like accuracy or anything like that. If you do have a slight recenter when it comes to this gun, it can also, every single pellet will hit the exact same location every single time, and that means that if you do try and space your shots out with this, you can potentially technically do a snipe when it comes to shotguns with this weapon. It's especially useful at being able to start like peppering enemies with this as well. And the last thing to also note is that this is the only weapon that is full auto as well, at least for those 4 shots anyway. So you can hold down the trigger with this one to be able to fire all 4 shots, and then it will do the delay to be able to then rechamber, and then it will once again fire all 4 shots. You can hold down the trigger with this gun, and it is insanely useful at being able to do that. Now, you can actually mitigate a little bit of the recoil pattern with this, because it is full auto, it doesn't have chance to be able to recenter after every single shot, unlike something like the lever action rifle when it comes to the medium class. Because of the amount of delay that happens in the recocking of that weapon, we do actually need to factor in a little bit of the recoil with this. Now, because it's only 4 shots, it is an insanely easy recoil plot to be able to learn. All it is essentially you just pull down slightly and to the right, and what this means is that all 4 shots will land in the exact same area. You can see a couple of clips of me in the training section right now, just showing you as to how useful that can be, and it also gives you an idea as what the spread looks like on this kind of range. This is around about 10, maybe a little bit, stretching it out to closer to 15 meters, so you can get an idea as to what kind of spread you're looking at. It is insanely close, especially compared to like most first-person shooters. This is a very useful shotgun to be able to use, and it can be used at medium range as well. So of course the weapon itself is an absolute monster, but the problem is that you do need to be able to get up close. Now fortunately most of the firefights in this game do actually take place up close because of how the class balance kind of works. The only one that's going to be using range typically on yourself is going to be either a sniper light class, but they sometimes can get up close as well, and also the medium class if they're using assault rifles, because they will start to stretch out the ranges and all that, and it means that your shotgun will become a little bit less effective, whereas their assault rifle is still going to be doing massive amounts of damage. So what does that mean for us? What can we do to be able to mitigate that? Well, I think that's where the equipment side of things, when it comes to sorting out your class, and you can use a few things to be able to help you out in that kind of aspect. One of the main things that I would highly recommend that you do unlock for the heavy class straight away to be able to use with this is actually going to be the mesh shield. What this one does is that it gives you like a projective shield. If you've ever seen like Overwatch or anything like that, if you've ever played as Reinhardt, then you know how a shield kind of works. It is exactly the same kind of function. You basically put up a shield in front of you. Your teammates can shoot through it as well, which is really good support, but it also gives you like 1,200 damage that you're able to block, which is insanely good, and you can just pop this down whenever you want. Now the problem is that you can't use your gun while you're using this, but you can use this in a way that you can start closing down the gap. So if you are pushing forward onto an enemy and they're holding down a certain position, you can use the mesh shield to slowly walk towards them, and then once you're within range, or once you start to see them pop in their reloads or anything like that, as soon as they've got some kind of downtime, take the shield down, and then you're able to use your shotgun and start going ham on them. Now, because of the shotgun, in terms of its residual kind of damage, any kind of damage that you can do beforehand, before you go into the fight, is going to be worthwhile using with this shotgun. In that kind of sense, I would recommend something like a frag grenade or a pyro grenade. Both of these are very good uses. I mean, the pyro is really good at being able to push enemies off a certain location. It's really good crowd control, and the frag grenade is really good residual damage in a certain area, meaning that it doesn't rely on enemies being in like a certain location to take the full kind of potential of this grenade. And you can use this as a really good surprise tactic. It can do a massive amount of damage, and the frag grenade's really good against light classes if you can get this to hit. Alternatively, if you do want to go for a more defensive-based heavy, what you can do is use things like mines. Things like gas grenades are going to be absolutely perfect as an unlock, because gas is really strong in this game. Not only does it obscure vision, it also does damage over time, which is once again residual damage. Pyromine is also great for being able to put on the point, so that can really hold off when it comes to cash outs. And things like explosive mines is also just really good at being able to hold and like just basically stop a push altogether in a certain choke point. I would also recommend being able to use something so you can actually, if you are trying to attack though, you can use the dome shield. Dome shield's actually really useful at being able to block a certain amount of damage. It also gives you some really nice support in combination with your mesh shield, meaning that you can protect your teammates, you can protect yourself if you need to be able to pop a reload, or if like some enemies are starting to take shots at you from like a distance away. The dome shield is perfect. It will actually really help you out in those kind of situations, and I have seen this to really good use, especially in like the higher up levels when it comes to ranked tournaments. Now, the last piece of equipment that I do want to mention is obviously everyone's favourite when it comes to the heavy. This is because it's pretty much an instant lock, and you're kind of not playing the heavy class if you're not using it. That's going to be the RPG-7. This one just kind of makes sense for everyone, really, because it does insane amounts of damage. It can one-shot light classes. It's really good at being able to blow up the level. It's a really good thing to be able to initiate a fight. It's a really good way of being able to get the cash out down to yourself. Basically, the utility that the RPG-7 brings to the table is insane, and you just pretty much do want to be able to use this wherever. It's just for building destruction alone, or even just for being able to damage players. You can use it in a variety of situations, and it will definitely help you out in a bunch of them. So how do I currently have my heavy setup when it comes to this? Well, this is currently how I currently run them, and I've found some great success with being able to use it this way. So that is going to be the mesh shield. I then use the SA1216. Obviously, that is the weapon we are talking about. We do have the frag grenade in there, which, like I said, this is the residual damage. I can chuck this into the point. I can start getting enemies off there if I need to. The goo grenade is pretty good at being able to hold down locations. I will definitely swap this one out to be able to use something like the poison grenade, or something like the dome shield, or something like that. The goo grenade is just really good at being able to hold off a certain choke point. If you are trying to run away and you're trying to heal up or something, chuck down a goo grenade behind you. It gives you a little bit of breathing room, gives you a little bit of time before the enemies can get over that, and it's also really good at being able to close off doors and everything like that. Goo is pretty strong in this game, but like I said, in terms of that, I would probably prefer something like a poison grenade instead, but goo is definitely still worthwhile being used. And then RPG-7 to be able to take in, like I said, it's just pretty much like the bread and butter when it comes to the heavy class. In reserve, though, I do bring an M60. You can bring any of the ranged weapons in with you. If you feel like you're not really working with the SA1216, you can always swap over to something like an M60 or the Lewis gun or something like that, just so you can actually then start using a little bit more of a medium-based kind of heavy. You can start peppering enemies from a little bit more distance. Just kind of see how it is when it comes to your team setup. But obviously, this is what we were talking about when it comes to the SA1216. In terms of the reserve kind of equipment, pyro grenades great. Flashbangs, I would probably recommend being able to swap in one of the other previous options. I just haven't unlocked them yet, but they are definitely still usable. And then barricade is also going to be more defensive kind of minded when it comes to your heavy class. So feel free to be able to mix in what you want, but honestly, I would probably recommend something like a mine in there. I would recommend another kind of grenade in there, just something so you can swap in and out depending on what the kind of like team composition you do have, and something to be able to help you out that way. But there you have it. That is everything when it comes to the weapon stats, that comes to how I currently build up my SA1216 and how I currently play my heavy. Hopefully the clips in the background also give you a great idea as to how well this class can perform, how well this weapon does perform as well once you actually take it out into the battlefield. And it's just insanely, honestly, it probably is one of the best weapons that exist in this game. But obviously you do need to be able to get up close, you need to get up close and personal with this to really maximize the amount of damage that this can do. But this is the part of the video when I want to hear from yourselves. Let me know in the comment section down below, how do you feel about the SA1216? How do you feel about heavies in general when it comes to the finals? Do you think they are balanced? And let me know also what is your favourite gun that exists in the finals right now. Massive thank you for making your way to the end of the video. Massive thank you to the Babylonian family, as always, for their continued support. It really does help the channel out. And with all that said and done, that just leaves me to say, keep yourself safe, keep yourselves well, and I'll see you all on our next video.